Corella is a well-known Australian bird, representing the equally well-known cockatoo family. It is known to be the only bird of its kind in this family. Parrot Corella. Description: Corella parrots have become known to fans of our country quite recently. Despite this fact, these exotic birds are characterized as smart enough, original and unproblematic in keeping. Intelligence: these birds are deservedly included in the top 10 smartest birds, which allows them to be kept in human conditions without problems. As the results of experiments show, the level of intelligence of this bird is comparable to the level of intelligence of a 5-year-old child. Appearance and colors: adult birds of this species grow up to 33 centimeters with their tail. The tail is rather long and pointed, and on the head there is a rather high tuft. In this case, the plumage of females and males are different. Males are characterized by the presence of a brighter evocative olive gray shade, while the crest and head are distinguished by the presence of a yellow tint. The wings are more velvety black, with the presence of bluish or silvery colors. Interesting fact: the beak of this bird, both in appearance and in shape, is more reminiscent of the beak of a cockatoo, but it does not differ in size, since it has much smaller dimensions. Despite this, the bird's beak is quite powerful and sharp, since the bird is able to bite into a wire, such as electrical wiring. As for the females, they are characterized by a dirty gray coloration of the main plumage, as well as the presence of a brownish tint from the bottom of the body, while the cheeks are painted in specks of a pale brown hue. The head and the crest itself is characterized by a pale gray color with the presence of light yellow tones. It is considered characteristic that young birds are more similar in color to females. In this regard, only after a year it is possible to determine the sex of the birds. Subspecies of parrot cockatiel. Due to the fact that the breeding of such birds in captivity is simple, as a result of the work of specialists, it was possible to obtain various shades of plumage of birds, which further complicated the process of determining the sex of the Corella parrot. The most famous subspecies are: the albino Corella represents birds with white or cream-colored plumage with red eyes. This is due to the complete absence of coloring pigment. The head and crest are yellow. In the female, pale yellow spots may be present on the wings. Corella is white with black eyes, as a result of crossing a white female and a gray male. Males of this subspecies are distinguished by the presence of white feathers in the tail, while in females this part has a marble coloration. Corella lutino is a yellow parrot with red eyes. On the sides of the head, regardless of gender, you can see characteristic bright orange spots. Corella is light gray with black eyes. The subspecies was the result of crossing a gray and white parrot. The subspecies is distinguished by the presence of light gray shades in the tail. Corella is dark yellowish, although there are subspecies with many variations of similar shades, ranging from dark yellowish to light cream. Recently, the bird Corella shiki has appeared, which is characterized by the presence of heterogeneous white spots on the plumage. Many experts believe that this subspecies can serve as a good basis for breeding new subspecies that are very original in color. Interesting to know: the shaki subspecies has quite interesting color variations. They can be pearl gray, white-winged and black-winged, including a black-gray tint with a pure black breast. Natural habitats. Being in their natural environment, these birds for their life choose forest plantations located in the coastal zone of water bodies, as well as eucalyptus groves and thickets of shrubs located in the savanna. Numerous flocks can be seen on the tops of dead trees as well as on tall shrubs. The most numerous populations are found in Australia. Keeping a cockatiel parrot at home. There are no difficulties in keeping a Corella parrot at home, so this process is available even for inexperienced fans of home-keeping birds. And yet, certain rules must be followed. Cell device. This bird loves keeping conditions as free as possible, so it will not feel comfortable in a cramped cage. In this case, you should pay attention to cells measuring 60 x 60 or 70 x 70 centimeters at least. At the same time, the door must be of such a size that the bird can freely fly out of the cage and come back. Important to remember. Experienced bird owners recommend purchasing a cage that has larger vertical than horizontal dimensions. A 60 by 50 by 50 centimeters cage is suitable for keeping one bird, and a rectangular cage with dimensions 150 by 70 by 70 centimeters is suitable for 2 birds. The cage is made of metal wire, but at the same time it should not have a paint and lacquer coating. A retractable tray should be provided at the bottom of the cage. In order to avoid scattering of feed and splashing water, in the lower part, you should build a kind of bumpers. It can be made of plastic. The cage should be equipped in several perches, a feeder, a water container, and several toys should be installed in it. Care and hygiene. First, it is necessary to choose the right place for the birds, since these are quite thermophilic birds. It is believed that they do not tolerate temperature changes well. As a result, the parrot can get sick or even die. Therefore, you should think about the fact that a draft does not walk in the place where the birds are located and the air temperature should be at an optimal level. Interesting fact. According to the owners of Corella parrots, these birds are quite susceptible to extraneous odors in the room, such as cigarette smoke, perfumery, disinfectants containing chlorine, including air fresheners. The most optimal temperature for keeping a Corella parrot is from 22 to 24 degrees Celsius. There is one more factor to pay attention to. When heating devices are turned on in winter, a decrease in air humidity is observed in a person's dwelling, which negatively affects the health of birds. It is constantly necessary to ensure that the filler in the cage is changed regularly and that drinkers, feeders and all toys are washed once a week. How to feed a cockatiel parrot. The well-being of birds, as well as their health, and, ultimately, the life expectancy of pets, depends on the correct healthy diet. In any case, you should give preference to purchased, ready-made, complete feed. Birds don't eat that much, so you shouldn't skimp on their health. At the same time, you should know that the basis of any feed, regardless of their cost, are millet, oats, wheat, sunflower, and corn. If the feed is more expensive, then nuts, minerals, oils and yeast are added to them. Life expectancy. Living in natural conditions, these birds rarely live up to 10 years, since they constantly have to look for food for themselves, endangering their lives. If you keep a parrot in artificial conditions, observing all the rules of keeping, then the pet can live for almost 20 years, or even more, as there is evidence. Is it possible to teach Corella to speak? Many are interested in the question of whether it is possible to teach a Corella parrot to speak. Compared to budgies, which are considered to be more talkative, the Corella parrot is able to pronounce words more clearly and more legibly. Almost every member of this family has the ability to imitate human speech. If you regularly work with a parrot, then he can learn to pronounce individual words and even whole sentences. In addition, the bird is able to memorize other sounds, for example, simple melodies. Interesting fact. The parrot Corella has a rather harsh and shrill voice, which leads to distortion of the spoken words, as well as the accompaniment of speech with melodious sounds made by the parrot. Therefore, we can say that the parrot has its own, very impressive vocabulary. Important to remember. In no case should the parrot Corella be teased, since in anger he makes completely unpleasant sounds, and quite loud ones. Counsels for buying a parrot. When choosing a parrot in a nursery or elsewhere, the sex of a bird can be determined by its color and behavior. As a rule, before 1 year of age, it is very difficult to do this without being a specialist. In this case, it must be borne in mind that males are noisier, often bang their beaks, and also make more complex sounds. Where to buy and what to look for. Parrot Corella can be bought both in the nursery and from a private breeder. If the parrot is healthy, then it has a beautiful and neat appearance, with even plumage, tight fitting to the body, a clear look and excellent appetite. The bird is quite active and verbose. If a parrot nervously rushes about in a cage, screams loudly, combs itself or pulls out feathers, then this is the first sign that something is wrong with the parrot and it is absolutely impossible to buy it. You cannot buy very apathetic individuals, oppressed, crumpled, losing coordination or falling on their side. Price of a parrot cockatiel. Australia is considered the homeland of Corella parrots, and their export from the country is prohibited at the legislative level, therefore only birds artificially bred in nurseries or from private breeders are sold. The cost of a parrot is not sky high, but quite affordable, which is associated with a simple breeding process. For a parrot, age 3 months, you will have to pay an average of $50. Conclusion. The Corella parrot is considered a national treasure of Australia, so their export from the country is strictly prohibited. Unfortunately, the population of these birds has been declining recently due to human economic activities. This is due to the fact that humans are forcing birds to leave their natural habitats. The nature of bird behavior in the natural environment is very extraordinary. These are rather shy birds, although, being high in a tree, they can let a person come close enough. Parrots never land on the shores of water bodies, but if it is necessary to take a sip of water, they descend literally vertically to the surface, take a sip and immediately fly away. The breeding process takes place during the rainy season, when there is a lot of food for both chicks and adults. Nests are built in the hollows of all trees. Each clutch may contain from 3 to 7 white eggs. Eggs are incubated by both the female and the male alternately. The hatched chicks, after 3 weeks, are fed in the same way by both parents. In about a month and a half, the offspring leaves the nest of their parents. Around the end of this term, parrots make a second clutch of eggs, while they continue to feed the young.